What up, football family? Welcome to Space City Football. It's LC, and it is game day. And I could not be more excited about it being game day because we have been off for a week. I've been off for a week. I've been off Twitter. I've been off YouTube. It's been a very busy time for me. Apologies if you missed me. But it is game day, and we are back, and I am extremely, extremely excited about this one. Mostly because, it's Sporting Kansas, and I hate Sporting Kansas. If you're a Dynamo fan, you've probably hated Sporting Kansas at some time in your life. And B, we've had a tough stretch of games. Very, very tough stretch of games, but it's a new month. I'm looking forward to the new month, and we got a lot of football to play. So let's jump right in. Guys, welcome to Space City Football. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, like the video up top, share it with your friends, and jump in on the chat. Ooh, got a new tweet from the Dynamo already. Hopefully this is the lineup. It is not, unfortunately. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. As soon as the lineup comes out, we'll be talking about that. First things first. Let's get into the match. Sporting Kansas, they're not doing so hot as of right now, but they are number 3 in the Western Conference. Had a stretch of bad games. They have not won since Minnesota. They've lost 4 of the last 5 games. No, 3 of the last 4 games. One of them was against us. They also lost to Dallas and Orlando, and they won against Minnesota. So this is a team that is struggling right now. So it's a very good opportunity from us, coming off of the tie against Nashville, coming off of the tie against Minnesota, the loss to Dallas. This bad run that we've had. This is a huge opportunity for us to kind of come back and make a statement, because this month is going to be absolutely long for us. It is going to be a long month. In 4 weeks, we have 8, count them, 8 matches. And I mean, frankly, we have to really turn this thing around. In about 4 weeks, we've dropped from 6th to 14th in the conference. It's not a good look. 2 draws, 2 losses in our last 4 games. 3 draws, 2 losses in our last 5 games. And what I said about the Nashville game last week is, if we could organize defensively, if we could retain possession in the midfield, it would solve a lot of our problems. And I think overall, I think we did that. And I'm kind of looking forward to how we go into this match, because I'm really hoping for not a lot of change in the lineup. Back 4, we started with Figueroa and Cabrera in the center back positions, because Struna had been on a run of about 5 games, and we needed to give him a rest. We had Ludenvist and Valentin as our fullbacks, and I'm really kind of hoping Tab stays with, if not that 4, I would like to see Figueroa out and Struna into the center back role, and keep the other 3. And I know I've been picking on Figueroa a lot for the last couple of weeks. And he did score. He scored 89th minute against Nashville. Off the set piece, he was able to put it in on the back corner. Look, all well and good to him. I think defensively, I think he's been a major liability for us. And I'd like to see him not start tonight. Whether he comes into the game, later as a sub, I guess maybe. But frankly, I think we need some time away. Yeah, we need to separate from Figueroa for a while, kind of find ourselves spiritually, and then maybe we can text him and tell him to come back later. That's just how I feel, honestly. And if I'm wrong, let me know. There were a lot of people last week. I was hanging out with the Texian Army. Basically at the end of the game, were telling me to eat my words, because he did score, but I don't know, over the 88 minutes before that, I still felt like he was, and I don't know, I still feel like he's hurting us. Mostly because when we're trying to organize a back 4, he's usually the one that's out of position, because he likes to play really, really high. I don't know if he's trying to convince Tab that he needs to be like a number 6, like a center defensive mid for us. But he wants to go forward. We saw against Dallas, he was right around midfield, right around the around the center half, taking shots. From if you're a forward and you're taking shots from there, it's basically the parking lot. I don't know why he's going just forward enough to take shots from too far away. It doesn't make sense to me. Big news for Memo he signed a contract through 2022 with options to extend to 2024. I said it a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say it again. Memo Rodriguez, if we do decide to go through the rebrand, will be the face of the rebrand. Memo is absolutely massive for us in the midfield. I hope he never goes back to being a winger, because I think creatively, as an attacking midfielder, I think he's been just absolutely major for us. And I would definitely love to see him there. Vera will probably start again as our number 6 role. Against Nashville last time out, he completely turned a corner for me, mostly because, again, like Figueroa, he was a player that was constantly out of position. We like to play that 4-3-3 with a back point, basically one behind and 2 in front in the midfield. And Vera is constantly not holding that space for us. It's usually wide open. A lot of teams beat us through the middle because that space was open. Last week against Nashville, they could not score for a long time because he was in that position and he held for us. We went the entire first half, basically keeping possession of the ball and forcing Nashville to play out of the middle, which has been our kryptonite over the last few weeks. So extremely happy with his last performance. If he does start in this game against Kansas City, which I kind of expect him to, I would hope that he does the exact same thing and he just holds that central defensive position for us. Sorin probably won't start, only because he's been on a stretch of games. However, it has been a week. We know that in this COVID-style season, a lot of games are going to be back-to-back for us, especially this month. We're basically going to have about 2 games a week. So I definitely expect to see some rotation there. Sorin is, again, he's just one of those players that he is usually the first one up for us. We call on him a lot. He usually goes, a long time before we see him come off the field. He's usually in there for a while. So again, expect Sorin, Vera, and Memo to be holding the midfield for us going forward. We've had Lassiter and Quintero as our wingers. Probably we'll see that again. Quintero came off last week later in the second half. I would not, if we can get an early lead, like we've been kind of attempting to do but haven't really been able to do. If we can get an early lead, I see Quintero coming off probably closer to halftime rather than staying so long in the game. Again, he is one of those players that's played a lot of minutes, and we need to get some rotation there. We'll probably see Manotes start up top. Don't see Ramirez starting, against a side as dominant as Sporting Kansas has been, but has not been of recent times. But, that may change. We might see Hansen start instead of Lassiter. We might see Ramirez start instead of Manotes because over the last few games, Kansas City has been, poor. It's really up in the air. We'll be keeping an eye on Houston Dynamo's Twitter page. Last week, they did not release their starting lineup until about half an hour before the game, which is kind of weird because it's pretty standard, and I mean across all football, including the MLS, that we see lineups usually about an hour before the game starts. So it is kind of frustrating when the Dynamo basically wait until the last minute. I don't know if there's a reason for that. I don't know if they're trying to be sneaky. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's in charge of that. Someone in their marketing department, I guess, needs to whoever's in charge of their Twitter page, some poor non-paid college intern, I'm sure, needs to get on that and get that out quicker, just so we can talk about it. Because as soon as it does drop, then we will talk about it. Last few games. Again, Nashville's massive because we fixed a lot of our problems. If we look at Chicago, a game where we were expected to win because Chicago was basically in last place in their conference. Chicago and Minnesota both had this idea that if we play too centrally, the Dynamo will win balls in the midfield. They'll look to counter, and that's how we've scored a lot of our goals. And they basically knew we have to keep the ball away from Memo. We have to keep the ball away from Vera, because this is their bread and butter. It's been our bread and butter for basically all season. So both of those teams were able to play us in a way where they basically predicted how we were going to play because we hadn't made massive changes over the last few weeks. And for them, it worked like a charm. Not so much Minnesota because we were able to come from behind and tie up the game, but it's still a situation where it shouldn't happen. And Quintero also missed a PK in that game against them. So technically it should have been a win for us. But what we need this week and really going forward throughout October is we need to see some massive changes. Not so much in the style or in the philosophy of what Tab is trying to do with the Dynamo, but we need to see some other strategy than feed the ball to Memo, let Memo play, through our attackers and play that way, because it's become too predictable. It's come a bit stale, and we've suffered because of it. We've now dropped 8 places in, I think, 5 weeks, and it's not an ideal situation, and what the conversation it looks like it has been is, we don't spend enough money on players, but I mean, we know that we don't do that. We've known that for a long time. Houston Dynamo doesn't go out and spend a bunch of money, on designated signings, on big name signings. Whenever we hear of these European giants coming to the MLS, you can basically count us out because it's not going to happen for us. It's just not the way that we've run this football club. And now, again, with the rebrand, that might change. But until that actually happens, it's not something, it's not something that we can expect. I'm sorry, I'm getting text messages from other coaches. I'm buzzing because I coach youth football, and we had a crazy 10-game thriller today. It was a draw, but it was wild, and I don't know. I can't wait to talk to all my other coaches about it because it was super fun. Anyway, lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we need some kind of tactic other than relying on our midfield players solely to create for us. I've talked about Lassiter being very uncreative in the wings, unable to kind of beat those outside fullbacks, get the ball in behind, and create space for us in dangerous places. I've also criticized Hansen for that. It's something that Albert Elise did for us a lot, but only because he was much faster than everybody else. Not necessarily because he was so much better than these wingers. It's just that he could knock a ball in behind the defender and chase it down and do it by himself. And, as we look for a replacement for that, we need those wingers, if either Quintero or Lassiter, to really just really think about the way that they create space, because honestly, it's been extremely direct for the last couple of weeks. And it doesn't work. We lose a lot of balls before we can even get it into the penalty area, even though we're in the final third. And it's largely due to this kind of very predictable, very direct style of play. So, yeah, I'm calling on Tab tonight. We have to see some kind of changes. If not necessarily changes in the personnel, we have to basically watch the game and say, okay, they're not just doing the same thing over and over again. Because again, any team, especially in the 4-4-3, in the 4-3-3, because it is a very dynamic, kind of open, creative style of play. You know, your players have to be allowed to take chances, you know, try some skill moves, try, you know, something tricky to really off balance the defense and open up passing lanes to penetrate. So hopefully we'll see that tonight. Real quick, just checking. Nothing yet. We are at home tonight. You know, fans are allowed back into the stadium at a limited capacity. We had our first home game with fans was a couple of weeks ago. Who was that against? Was that Minnesota? Chicago was away. Nashville was away. I guess that was Minnesota, was our first game back inside BBVA. I know a couple of people who went. I wasn't able to go, unfortunately, but I do expect to be in the stadium for the Dallas game, so I'm very excited about that. If you're there and you see me, say hi, but from 6 feet away. And for those watching, if you have, you know, I want to know what you guys are thoughts about having fans in the stadiums, you know. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Obviously, it's a good thing for our club because all clubs worldwide, doesn't matter if you're Houston Dynamo, doesn't matter if you're Manchester United, you're losing money when you don't have, you know, fans in the stands. So we know it's good in that respect. But at the same time, you know, we're seeing resurgences in COVID across the nation. Freaking president has COVID. The UK is seeing a huge spike in COVID, you know, since they've kind of opened up. They still don't allow fans in their games in the Premier League. You know, the MLS is kind of, as far as sports in America goes, the MLS has kind of been on the front foot of this thing. We were the first in the bubble in Florida. We were the first to restart. We were the first to allow fans back in the stadium. So it would suck if they went back on that. But again, you know, the way, you know, pandemics work, you know, who knows? So would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about being in the stadium? Are you going to the stadium? Or your family or your friends going? What do you think about it? Let me know. And if you ever want to talk to me during the week, our Twitter page is in the description below. Nice segue. So yeah, give us a follow on Twitter if you're on Twitter. I'm not currently, I don't have Space City Football on any other platform other than YouTube and Twitter, because I understand that those are kind of the two best platforms for something like this. If you would like to see me on Facebook, let me know. Let me know right now, and I'll go make a Facebook page for it. But I haven't really had any demand for it, so I haven't done it yet. But maybe in the future. Nothing yet from the Dynamo. Okay, transfer news. So already talked about Memo. Signed a new contract for us. Very, very big. He will be the face of the rebrand. As for La Pantera's replacement, look, Elise, first of all, I heard you got injured, Elise, in your game against, I believe it was against Porto, but it might have been the game after that. So sorry to hear that you're hurt. We wish you the best. We've been linked with the Argentinian player Mateo Bahamich from Instituto, and for the last few weeks, we've heard squat from the Dynamo. And the lineup just dropped, but we'll talk about it after this thought. First off, it always sucks, and in transfer windows can be extremely exciting if you love to follow them. And when a club keeps you in the dark, keeps the fans in the dark, it's pretty frustrating. You know, we want to know who's coming to our club. You know, we want to know how the coach and the staff and the owners are kind of trying to boost the roster and lift us up, you know, as we go forward in the season, as we head towards playoffs. There's been really no news for Mateo Bahamich until about 4 days ago. So the last time I was on here was last week for the Nashville game. I basically had no news. Week before that, it was kind of the same thing. 4 days ago, right? Let's say the 3rd. Yeah, the 29th. 4 days ago, Sunderland, who was basically the first to kind of inquire about Mateo and kind of look to put a bid in. I believe they put in a bid for about $500,000 plus add-ons. They officially came out, told their fans, they're like, look, we thought this was going to happen. It's not going to happen. Houston Dynamo have the lead on this, which was, huge for us. And then there was let's see. There was a article that came out. It was an God, I had it right here, and it looks like I lost it already. Basically, Argentinian reporter who's close to the club comes out and says that the deal with the Dynamo is done. He's like, it's a done deal. It's been signed. Mateo is going to Houston, and it's going to be announced in a few days. Here we are 4 days later, and we have no news from the club. So if you are worried about your disconnect between you and your fans, you and your city, and you're simultaneously, keeping breaking news from your fans, it's extremely disappointing. It's extremely disappointing. It's extremely frustrating, and it's what are you doing? Is he in? Is he out? We want to know, because we definitely need a replacement for Elise. It looks like he's the only signing that we've actually been pursuing. We signed Zaibo recently to kind of boost our midfield. We brought Memo into the midfield. Our midfield is going to be strong moving forward, and I'm extremely excited about it. But we've been looking for fullbacks to kind of back up what we already have. Manotas is getting on an age, is who's going to back up Christian Ramirez when he's gone. So there's still spots on the squad to fill, and either we're looking to bring players up through the system, or we're looking to bring players in from elsewhere. But as fans, we won't know until the Dynamo say something. So again, the word is right now that the deal with Mateo Bahamic is done. However, it hasn't been officially announced by the Dynamo, so we will keep an eye on it. All right, so oh gosh, okay. So the lineup has officially dropped on the Houston Dynamo's Twitter page. March is in goal. We always knew that he would be. Again, March has been absolutely fantastic for us. And we've let in a lot of goals over the last few games. I blame the back four. I don't blame Mario. A lot of you know this. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper for us, and I like to see him in the lineup. I'm so glad he is. So the back four is the same except for the switch that I wanted. So it's Ludenvis, Valentin, Struna, and Figueroa. So we do see that change. Struna is back in. And again, Struna is our first pick when it comes to a center back. So when he's out, it is kind of hurt. It's detrimental for us because he is somebody that can organize. He's a leader in the team. So definitely like to see him there. Figueroa, I want it out. I've wanted him out for the last couple of weeks. I don't care that he scored a goal last time out. He still had a bad game for me. That's just me. Vera in the midfield with Serin. Vera in that number 6 role. Please, Vera, if you're listening, stay put. Stay. Good boy. Don't move from that spot. Yeah. And again, I'm exaggerating. Obviously, you don't have to stay centrally the entire game, but don't get caught too high. Don't create a gap in the midfield for us, and don't let balls come through the middle because Kansas will score. So Vera Inserin in the middle, no Memo in the lineup, and that is scary to me, and I don't know why. And I'm actually looking it up right now because I want to find out why he's not in the lineup. Again, like many players, he's been playing a lot of games. I haven't heard anything about him being hurt. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know. But I'm looking it up right now. We'll see. We'll see what's going on with that. Forward 3, no changes. Manotas in the number 9 spot for us. Quintero and Lassiter playing as our attacking wingers. And again, that's fine. A lot of pace from Lassiter. Not so much Quintero or Manotas, but Quintero overall is a creative player. You can tell when Quintero gets frustrated on the wing and he starts forcing shots, though. and that's the one. That's my one grievance with him. I think he's a good player. You know, I don't know if that's maybe the role for him. You know, maybe he needs to be more of an attacking midfielder or even a number 9. When he's on the wing, he starts to get frustrated when we struggle to build out through the midfield, and he likes to take the ball 1v1, even though he's not necessarily fast enough, even though he doesn't necessarily have the skill, and he wants to try and beat 2-3 players. Last couple of weeks, he's lost the ball for us a lot at the top of the 18. That being said, he has created some scoring opportunities. He's had a few shots that were decent. So it's not all bad. But man's got to be on his game tonight. Ramirez is on the bench along with Cabrera, Hansen, Martinez, Limone, basically all of the usual suspects except for Rodriguez. Rodriguez is not in the lineup, and there's no injury news for him as of right now. Check out the injury report. Houston Dynamo, Salazar, he's been out, and Zaibo's been out with his hamstring. Man, I cannot. Zaibo has been changed to questionable. That was a few days ago. So obviously he's out for this match because he's not on the bench. He's not in the lineup. But maybe that means by next game we'll see Zaibo back in the lineup. And I'm very excited because we have not really seen him. I think we've seen him once since he came, and then it was the right thigh injury. So, I mean, it sucks. It's unfortunate, but hopefully that means he'll be. Back. Yeah, so no injury report for Rodriguez. Looks like they're just giving him a break, and that's fine. However, if you are going to give a player as dynamic as Memo a break, he at least has to be on the bench. And again, if you don't need him, you don't use him. But better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And I kind of fear that's where we might be at right now. Only because he is such a dynamic player for us. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, when we hear from Tab tonight, maybe he'll make a comment as to why he was left off the bench. Again, the only reason I could imagine that he would be is to give him rest, but I still think it's a bad idea. Yeah, nothing there. Anyway, game tonight, 30 minutes till kickoff, about 32 minutes till kickoff. It's at 7 p.m. It's here in Houston versus Sporting Kansas City. If you're just joining us, welcome. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it with your friends. And again, join our live chat. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your thoughts are if you have any questions. Literally anything about football, and I'm pretty much willing to answer it as long as it has to do with kind of U.S. soccer, the MLS, or the Houston Dynamo. However, if you want to talk about anything else soccer-related, we can always talk about it too. I really don't mind. But keep that in mind. Try to keep it relevant. Guys, we will be back on immediately following the game. We'll have another live video, and we'll basically talk about what happens. Again, tough game, number 3 seed. But it's definitely a winnable game because, again, the last 2 times we've played them, we have won. But both of us are now on a stretch of bad games, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I expect Sparks to fly tonight. The last time we played them out, it ended 2-1. The time before that, though, the time immediately before that, we scored 5 goals. So it's something that can happen. A lot of people going to be at the stadium tonight. If you're at the stadium and you want to tune in afterwards, let me know what the experience is like. Want to talk about it? I understand. I already know the precautions that BBVA has put in place, but I want to know about the fan experience as well. Let me know what's going on there. So we will Yeah, we will be back on immediately following the game. Again, kickoff is at 7, so expect us on right after about 9 o'clock. Keep it on the Twitter page. Keep it right here on the channel, and join us for that. Dale Dynamo. Vamos. Let's go get a W. Please, for the love of God, go get a W, boys.